Microsoft is going nuclear to provide power to data centers. This is like unbelievable to me. They're going to revive one of the two nuclear reactors on 3 Mile Island. There were two nuclear reactors. One of them melted down in 1979 and sent all kinds of radioactivity, and they had to shut that reactor down. That was reactor 2. But reactor 1 was fine. And reactor 1 continued to operate until 2019. They eventually shut it down simply because it didn't make economic sense anymore. But now Microsoft wants to revive that nuclear reactor 1 of 3 Mile Island. And the reason for that is it costs so much to construct a brand new facility, and it usually takes years. This can be gotten up by 2028. Microsoft has promised to buy power from it from 2028 onward for 20 years.
Pennsylvania power plant, the site of the nation's worst nuclear accident, will power back on. A deal with Microsoft will restart 3 Mile Island.
It's all to help boost the tech giant's growing AI ambitions. Fox's Jeff Flock has the details.
Before there was Chernobyl, before there was Fukushima, there was this, 3 Mile Island. Perhaps on the left side of your screen, you see the cooling towers from Reactor 2. That's the one that melted down in March of 1979, spewing radioactivity into the environment around us, causing the evacuations of thousands of people. On the other side of the screen would be Reactor 1. That wasn't affected, was restarted, but then shut down again in 2019 because it wasn't making any money. But now, with money from Microsoft, which has a voracious appetite for power because of artificial intelligence, they have agreed to buy the power from that reactor, if it's restarted, for 20 years. And so it will be. By 2028, it should be up and running again. Nuclear power again coming from 3 Mile Island. Nuclear power advocates saying nuclear is a lot safer now than it was in 1979.
You can see from the chart that Microsoft has had a relatively good month. It's made over 4% in the last month. Its price to earnings is about 35. Its earnings growth rate is 17%, which is okay. Its value is about $302, which keeps me from buying it. But I probably should buy it because it's so big in artificial intelligence, as it has a 49% stake in OpenAI, which is probably going to be the first company to perfect general artificial intelligence, GAI. I guess I justify not owning it as I trade the triple Qs, which is the 100 largest companies in the NASDAQ, frequently, and the second biggest weighting in that is, I think, Microsoft. A stock that I own that has benefited strongly from Microsoft's nuclear news is Nuscale Power Corporation, SMR. You want to think of that as small modular reactor, small modular nuclear reactor. It's a neighborhood reactor. It's much smaller, much safer. It can be built much more quickly than these gigantic plants that have been built in the past. It would satisfy the need for artificial intelligence's need for energy. It gained over 12% in the last week, and I think it's because of the Microsoft news that they realized that, hey, small modular reactors is probably also a solution for the artificial intelligence need for energy. The stock that I own, that I'm both afraid to own and afraid not to own, is Nvidia. Its progress in the last month reflects my feelings about it. It's gone down 6%. I keep debating whether I should sell it, but then say to myself, well, it's good for the long term. And then its relative strength is at the 50 percentile mark, so it's just as indecisive as I am about it. I think I'm going to force myself to hang on to it somewhat. I want not to miss this one. If the market dives, I got a stop loss on it of 4%, and it will bail me out. Looking at the chart of a stock I love, Oracle, ORCL. It's made over 20% in the last month. It does cloud infrastructure. They've bought all kinds of chips, as many chips as they possibly could from Nvidia, and apparently it's paying off. So we're hanging on to this one. Its relative strength is 70, and I wouldn't care if it was 90. If it was 90, I'd probably buy more of it. I invested in Palantir because it was added to the S&P 500 on September 23rd, which is today, and it's made over 18% in the last month. Its statistics are awful. Its value is $7.30. Its price to earnings ratio is 105, but it does have a good earnings growth rate of 27%. But this stock, mainly just buying it because it's being added to the S&P 500. It is an interesting artificial intelligence stock, so I'll hang with it as long as I can stand it. But this is one of those what am I doing sort of stocks. I plan to hold it as at least a swing stock. Maybe it'll turn out to be something more. The relative strength of 80 says I should probably be getting out of it, but I don't know. Things like this tend to keep going up once they're going up until they stop going down. I put a stop loss on it of 4%, so I'll review that decision every time it dips 4%. Dell Technologies, DELL, is just the opposite of Palantir in that it has good statistics, but its price movement isn't all that impressive for being added to the S&P 500 on September 23rd, the same day that Palantir was added. Its price is $117. Its value is about $151. Its price to earnings is only 14, and its earnings growth rate is a decent 19%. These are the numbers more you like to see in a stock to hold, and I'm more comfortable holding Dell, even though it isn't that impressive of a mover. It has gone up almost 8% in the last month, which is typically very good, but again, isn't all that impressive for being added to the S&P 500. Dell's relative strength is 59, which is decent. So I presented on artificial intelligence stocks that I own simply because these are the stocks that I struggle the most with whether to own. I have other stocks that are doing well that I'll share in subsequent videos. But I think we're in a good market. I think the YouTubers telling you that, look out, we're going to crash, I think they're delusional. They haven't experienced markets like this enough to know better in my eyes. So we shall see. Maybe I'm wrong. You know, you can always be wrong. The stock market usually makes fools of all of us. Hopefully, I'm guessing right on this one, and I have a gut feeling that I am. That's the way I roll. Thank you.